Hello, welcome to the weekly highlights program on Azərbaycan Television with the major developments of the week. I am your host, Ilham Məmmədov. Now first, let's take a brief look at some of the top stories of this week. President İlham congratulated the people of Azerbaijan and all our compatriots living abroad on the occasion of sacred Eid al-Adha. This week, President İlham familiarized himself with landscaping works carried out in Ramana settlement. President İlham congratulated the people of Azerbaijan and all our compatriots living abroad on the occasion of sacred Eid al-Adha. The message states, "Dear compatriots, I heartily congratulate you and all our compatriots living outside of Azerbaijan on the occasion of the holy Eid al-Adha, which is a symbol of unity, equality and brotherhood of the Islamic world, and convey my most sincere wishes to all of you. Eid al-Adha is marked by the sending of the Islamic religion to mankind as a way of spiritual and moral salvation, and it embodies the love of Allah and the willingness of Muslims to make any kind of sacrifice for the sake of truth and justice. The people of Azerbaijan have been distinguished for centuries for their attachment to historical roots and traditions. We preserved our national and cultural values even in the most difficult times. Religious holidays that demonstrate our spiritual solidarity with the Muslim world, including the sacrificial ceremonies, are celebrated in our country with great solemnity and enthusiasm every year. Sacrifices are made in the name of Allah and prayers are offered for the progress of our state, the well-being and peace of our people. I once again commemorate the immortal memory of our heroic martyrs who sacrificed their lives for the independence of Azerbaijan and the liberation of our ancient lands from the occupation. I pray for mercy on them from the Almighty and wish patience to their loved ones. My dear brothers and sisters, I do hope that your prayers and intentions will be accepted and this blessed holiday will become a celebration of kindness, compassion and mercy typical of our people and will further strengthen the spirit of national and spiritual solidarity in our society. May the holy Eid al-Adha bring prosperity to your families and blessings to your tables. Happy holiday, İlham Əliyev, President of the Republic of Azerbaijan. President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, İlham Əliyev, made a post on his social media accounts on the occasion of the Eid al-Adha. The post states, "Happy Eid al-Adha." First Vice President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Mehriban Aliyeva, made a post on her official Instagram page on the occasion of Eid al-Adha. The post states, "I sincerely congratulate all the people of Azerbaijan and the Muslims of the world on the occasion of the holy Eid al-Adha. I wish you all the best of health, good emotions and a long life. Let there be many bright and happy days in everyone's life. May Allah accept all the sacrifices made during these blessed days." This week, President İlham Əliyev familiarized himself with landscaping works carried out in Ramana settlement.
Ramana is one of the oldest settlements of Baku, featuring many monuments, ancient mosques, cemeteries, bathhouses and pilgrimage sites, which reflect all the historical periods. Within the framework of reconstruction works, the internal settlement roads were paved with asphalt covering, wall and roof claddings were upgraded and the street lighting was installed. Director General of the Baku Landscaping Service LLC, Bunyat Qasimov, informed President İlham Əliyev about the work done in the settlement, about the new lighting system, and in response to the question of the head of state said that these were wall-mounted lights produced in Azerbaijan, and the whole settlement was 100% fully lit. A total of 300 jobs were already in place, and by the end of the year it was planned to open up to 450 jobs. Dating back to the 12th and 14th centuries, the Ramana fortress, situated at the entrance to the settlement, attracts attention with its magnificence and was built on the hill. It is assumed that the fortress with 15-meter walls was built for defense and was used as a castle during the time of Shirvan Shahs. Films like Köroglu, Nasimi and Babek were shot in this fortress. The landscaping works were also carried out in residential and historical buildings. All these works are implemented for the benefit of the citizens. On September 23, 2020, President İlham and First Lady Mehriban Aliyeva, during the acquaintance with improvement works carried out in Balakhane, noted that this process will extend to other settlements as well.
Bizim planlarımızda diğer qəsəbələrdə
Of course, we plan to carry out the work to be done in other settlements. The relevant instructions have already been given. At the initial stage, similar projects will be implemented in about 7 to 8 settlements. Each settlement has a unique architectural style, its own history, its own historical appearance.
Tarixi var, tarixi görünüşü var.
And today, President İlham familiarized himself with the realization of these projects. The head of state was informed about the works carried out. Hasan Bey Zərdəbi, Xanlar, Mirza Ağa Əliyev, Abdurrahman Bay Haqverdiyev streets and other streets around the cemetery were fully renovated by keeping their historical appearance. The territory was cleaned from waste. The goal is to create comfortable living conditions for the citizens of Azerbaijan, as well as leave good impressions on visitors coming to our country. As part of reconstruction works, the issue of employment of residents was not left unattended. The carpet weaving workshop and a shop were opened there. Newly established catering and service facilities in Ramana carry out production and sell different products. These facilities are equipped with necessary equipment to ensure high-quality service level and comfort of clients. The residents of the settlement said that large-scale landscaping works had been carried out and all the conditions had been created for entrepreneurial activity, as well as for the leisure time and recreation of kids. The selling of dried fruits will also be realized in Ramana. With the installation of mobile trade facilities and kiosks, the level of employment can be raised and the demands of locals and tourists can be met. One of the renovated historical monuments in Ramana is the Novruz Gulu bathhouse. It was reported that there were 4 wells in the bath in the past, but there are 3 there now. The bath, named after the son of Novruz Gulu Baba Kishi, is the only building on the Absheron Peninsula whose documents have been collected and verified. The ancient Ramana has cultural heritage resources which can be included in tourism destinations. Here tourism can be developed based on local community, which will positively contribute to the creation of new jobs, places and development of small and medium businesses. One of the projects implemented in Ramana is a vertical gardening project. The aim of the project is to encourage self-employment, enable low-income families to make an income and develop family farms. It also aims to expand green areas, develop horticulture and processing of agricultural produce. The head of state had a conversation with a resident of the settlement in the yard of one of the houses in Ramana. Greeting the head of state, the resident of the settlement informed that his uncle Allahverdi, who became a marshal, had lived in one of these houses, and added that his grandfather Ferzaliyev is a veteran of the First Karabakh War, and his uncle Namik is also a veteran of the war.
Əmim də var, Allahverdiyev Namiq Əlşinin oğlu, o da veterandır.
Bu işlərlə məşğulsandır.
Bəli.
President İlham was also informed about growing of strawberries with drip irrigation system, and in winter a vegetation is planted here.
Bəli,
yenidir. 1-2 aydan sonra buralar hamısı yaşıl olacaq. Qışda göyərdi, yaydan da belə çiyəli.
Director General of the Baku Landscaping Service, LLC Bunyad Gasimov, noted that by the instruction of the head of state, the roofing, gates and walls of the houses had been overhauled and special attention had been paid to families of martyrs and war veterans.
Sağ ol.
Ramana is also famous for water reservoirs. One of the restored historical sites in the settlement has been a 40-step water reservoir. Water reservoirs are more widespread in the territory of Azerbaijan on the Absheron Peninsula and neighboring areas. Since there are very few sources of drinking water in these places, the issue of using groundwater suitable for drinking became relevant in the 16th and 18th centuries, and water reservoirs were created. The construction of these facilities continued until the 20th century. During the renovation and reconstruction works, one of the priority issues was the protection of environment and environmental situations. The development of the young generation in Azerbaijan, including its physical and spiritual health, is always in the center of attention of the state. In order to bring up healthy young generation, new sports and recreation facilities and Olympic sports complexes are built and put into operation every year in various regions of the country. Measures are being taken to upgrade the sports infrastructure. Among them is also the commissioning of the Ramana Sports Center. The constructed center has an indoor sports hall, a mini football field, so that the residents of Ramana can lead a healthy lifestyle and spend their leisure time effectively.
Now it's time to get to the analytical part of our program. I am currently joined by international lawyer and political commentator Orhan Omashov. Hey, welcome, Orhan. Today I would like to discuss middle power. You know, there is growing opinion among think tanks and policymakers that Azerbaijan is becoming middle power. What are the conditions for Azerbaijan to become a middle power?
Well, first of all, we need to establish for ourselves what is middle power.
it's not about geography, it's not about population, it's mostly about foreign policy choices. And for example, in the 16th century, Italian scholars were discussing that they were distinguishing states between great powers, middle powers, and small powers. But then, of course, it was about geography. But the notion middle power, in a way we use it today, geopolitically, is a relatively new notion. And first time I think that the first country which self-defined itself as a middle power was Canada, because Canada was part of the British Empire and Commonwealth. And when they, after the Second World War, realized that they are sovereign power with foreign policy choices, they decided to define themselves a power of middle ranking. What does it mean? It means that it's not a great power, it's not a superpower. So it's a very humble beginning. You realize that your position is limited, your choices are limited, but still you are of consequence to the world. And it is about mostly foreign policy choices. It's about global initiatives. Are you capable of making global initiatives? Are you capable of changing rule-based international law system, for example? And that is at the very heart of this type of powers. In the theory of international law, they're described as norm entrepreneurs, which means that they are playing an important role in creating international norms, and they are indispensable part of multilateral diplomacy. In multilateral diplomacy, you don't have global superpowers, you don't have sphere of influences, you have international law players, actors, and they all involve in creating international law norms. So that's exactly what middle power is. I mean, definition is very fluid. From different perspectives, we may come up with different constructs. But generally, it's about initiatives, it's about mediation, it's about being active, for example, in climate change. It's about, for example, certain nations which have peacekeeping contingents in different countries. That also forms part of that definition. So the definition is very fluid. It's not a legal definition. It's a notion which has been developed in the theory of international law. And for example, with great powers, you have certain legal recognition. For example, Security Council permanent members, Britain, France, Russia, China, United States, these are great powers. United States is a superpower, of course, but when it comes to middle powers, the definition is very fluid. For example, Italy, on occasion it has been described as a great power, on occasion as a middle power. So for that reason, the definition is very fluid. When it comes to Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan is a new player. It has come to this international contestation very, very newly. We regained our independence in 1991. I mean, if you want to ask me about what makes Azerbaijan a middle power, probably that will be the following question. But I can tell you briefly that when it comes to Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan has been growing as a middle power for the past 15 years because it's about independence, it's about economic self-sufficiency, and of course Second Karabakh War was a critical moment because when you have your own problem inside, you cannot claim that you're a player of consequence to other players. So I think the Second Karabakh War was an important moment in our national history. Energy export capabilities is indispensable element of Azerbaijan's global ranking. Azerbaijan exports energy, 10 BCM per annum. Azerbaijan plays an important role in the energy security of southeastern Europe. So Azerbaijan makes decisions which affect the countries beyond this presumed reach. And that's exactly what we mean. For example, Robert Cutler recently wrote an article where he described Azerbaijan middle power. First time, if memory serves me correctly, in Azerbaijani scholarship, this notion was introduced by Dr. Esmira Jafarova. She is a scholar of the Strategic Center of International Relations. She wrote a seminal work titled Is Azerbaijan Middle Power in 2020 May. And that was the first articulation of the idea that Azerbaijan could potentially be middle power. If you ask me whether Azerbaijan confirms with this definition, I would say probably strict definition, not yet. We are still emerging, we are rising within this scope of definition. But within the extended definition, yes, definitely Azerbaijan is there. So it's a fluid definition, it's not set in stone, right? It's not set in stone, definitely, because, I mean, it's not a legal definition. No United Nations report or any document or any source of international law says that these are the classification, these are the features which middle power should have. Well, we have in the theory of international law, of course, there are certain accounts of what middle power is. And definition is very fluid, as you said rightly, because economically it doesn't have set in stone definition, because certain countries are developing, certain countries are developed, and when it comes to middle power,
you don't have a particular requirement. For example, with great powers, it's very, very uncertain. For example, Russia has got a seat, permanent seat as the United Nations Security Council, so geopolitically it matters a great deal. It's a great power. At a certain stage in the history it was even superpower, but economically it's not developed. It's not a developed country economic-wise, that's what I meant to say. So, yeah, it's very fluid, it's developing. And as long as Azerbaijan's place in this classification is concerned, I think that Azerbaijan will increase its clout and become even more consequential. But from my perspective, if to be absolutely honest, we are a newcomer to this area of contestation. Our importance will increase, but of course, in order to be deep entrenched middle power, like Australia, for example, Canada, we need some time, but we will get there, of course.
Thank you very much, Orhan, for shedding light on such important and ambiguous topic.
Thank you very much indeed, Ilham. It was delightful to discuss this matter with you.
Thank you. That was all for the week. Thank you very much for watching us, and stay tuned not to miss the next edition of our program.